Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to Knife AQ. This is episode 104. And today we're going to be looking at some historical knife patterns that still have some utility today, and some of the better minimalist pocket multi-tools that you could get your hands on right now. Let's get into it. All right, everyone, welcome. If you're new to this series, then you probably don't know how it works, or you might, but I'll let you know anyway. The questions for this series get pulled from the comments section on previous videos of this series. So if you are looking to have a chance to have one of your questions featured, have a question about knives, something related to knives, relationship advice perhaps? No guarantees. No guarantees there. But if you do have a question that you think merits an answer, drop it in the comments section below and perhaps it will get featured in a future episode. First question today is from FG63. I'm looking for a knife-based multi-tool that has folding scissors and a bottle opener, but nothing I've found hits all of my need-to-haves. I've seen the James brand Ellis, but their half-serrated blade's a deal breaker. The Gerber armbar lacks a pocket clip, and the Boker Tech Tool City 3 is too thick. Can you help me? Yes, I can. And your list of kind of like must-haves on the your pocket companion multi-tool is actually pretty similar to mine. For me, I like a nail file as well on it. Anything else beyond that is a little bit of extra bonus in a way. But let's talk about the Ellis for a second. You mentioned the half-serrated blade. And while they originally were available only with a half-serrated blade, you can now get them plain edged. So if that's good enough for you, if you like the Ellis apart from that, full stop, there you go. About $119 for these. You got a 2.6 inch drop point blade, Sandvik's 12C27 steel, excellent stuff. Nice pair of scissors here, has a very robust feel to it. And then, of course, the wire pocket clip and the pry bar tool at the back, which is supposed to double as a bottle opener. And yes, while it can work, it doesn't exactly feel like the best solution. Yes, I know you can still do it, but it doesn't feel convenient. I don't know, like opening bottles with this thing might get a little tricky. So I want to go beyond just this for some options. You mentioned the Tech Tool City 3 from Boker, excellent tool, being too thick, which would also mean what I'm carrying right now, the Leatherman Free T4, is also going to be too thick. Both of these would do the trick, because the Free, I've been really enjoying carrying this. You've got your main blade there, and on the back you've got the scissors, which is another nice robust pair, and the Phillips screwdriver has a bottle opener in it. So you also get a Phillips screwdriver at the same time. So really nice, but also, as you mentioned, going to be too thick for you. How do I get this back? There we go. Now they're even on the table. Now, one thing you may want to look at, or one thing I should say that I don't think you should overlook, is a Swiss Army knife. And the reason it's probably not on your radar is, like you mentioned, you're looking for a pocket clip. Well, there's a couple of accessories available that can do the trick and still come in less money than that James brand knife we looked at the beginning, if price is on your mind. The first is the Swiss clip, spelled Q-L-I-P. It's funny, like there's always a U after Q, so it bugs me, even though, anyway. Swiss clip, these are about $25, and they work with any of the 91 millimeter sized Swiss Army knives from Victorinox. It's essentially a bolt-on pocket clip. These are nice. What I actually prefer is something that costs a little bit less money and it's a little less intrusive on the tool. You can see it here on this personal knife of mine, which I'll get to in a second. The Tech Accessories suspension clip comes in about, I think, $11 for this stainless steel gray finished version. And it's a little pocket clip. You know, it's behaves a little bit differently than if it were a clip bolted right to the side of the tool, and requires a little bit of getting used to, but not much. And once you do, very convenient way to keep both your Swiss Army knife from flopping around too much in the pocket while still giving it a little bit of wiggle room to conform to the motions as you're going around things, and then easy to get to once you're used to it. $11, and I would add that for your use case specifically, to the Victorinox Compact, which is not a particularly small knife. It's just called compact because it's only a 2-layer thick knife, but it has a lot of functionality. You can see right here, it is just a little bit thicker than that James brand knife we looked at, but it has a ton more functionality, and it's actually thinner if you include that pocket clip as part of the measurement. When it's in your pocket though, it is going to take just a tiny bit more thickness up, but a very, very small amount. $59 for this, and the 2 layers on the front of the tool take care of exactly what you're looking for. You got your blade, you've got a pair of scissors, nice size on those, and you've also got the combo tool, which not only opens bottles, it also will open cans as well. Tin cans, not beer cans, that sort of thing. There you go, plus screwdriver capability. Doesn't have quite the pry bar capability as the back of that James brand knife, but more functions there on the front. Then on the back, you've got the parcel hook, which comes with a little bit of nail file on the back. You have got the corkscrew. You have got a small pair of eyeglass, or a small eyeglass screwdriver. Inside the vortex there, you've got a small straight pin. You've got a toothpick, you've got tweezers, and you've got a ballpoint pen. Tons of functionality in a small place. And by adding that little Swiss clip, it may do exactly what you're looking for. As for Swiss clip. That is correct. This is the suspension clip from Tech Accessories. Thank you, Thomas, for the correction. And I was just going to say, if you're noticing the scuffs and scratches on this particular Victorinox Compact, like I said, this one's mine. It is one of my favorite Swiss Army knives. Longtime viewers will, of course, know the EvoGrip S18 is even more one of my favorites. So, hope that helps, and hope that helps. That's it. All right, next question comes from Dustin Hedgelin. Hey DCA, big fan of the channel. Say hi to everyone for me. Hi everyone.
There's nobody there.
There is in my mind.
We're gonna go to the doctor later.
Can I get a lollipop after, or is that just the dentist? It never makes sense they give you sugar after having your teeth cleaned.
It's like a cardiologist giving you a hamburger.
It's job security. I get it. Now it all makes sense. That's how they get you. Dustin, back to your question. Sorry. I've recently gotten into 1800s frontiersman kinda stuff, and was looking for a big and small knife combo that would have conceivably been used in that time period. It can be older or more modern materials, something like Hugh Glass might have carried back then. One for hard work and one for everyday tasks. I'm thinking like a full tang Bowie and Skinner. Any ideas? Yes, I do have some ideas. And for the big knife, I would look to the Condor Hudson Bay. Kind of Bowie-esque, but very prototypical Hudson Bay style, big old choppy Skinner. The cool thing about Condor, and the cool thing about Condor's association with Joe Flowers as one of their designers, is a lot of the stuff they do and a lot of the stuff Joe provides for them is or are historical examples or patterns very closely hewing to historical examples of a given style of knife. This is one of those. Check that bad boy out. Relatively affordable too for what it is, about $76 and some change, 1075 carbon steel, great amount of toughness and just old school durability for a knife like this. Hardwood handles. Going back to the kind of example of the historical precedent, one of the things that Joe has told me about this knife over the years is he did not include a lanyard hole because the historical versions wouldn't have had a lanyard hole. Even though a lot of folks nowadays, asking, why didn't you put a lanyard hole? Lanyard hole would be great on that knife. He wanted to keep it closer to some of the historical examples, like I said. Very cool knife. 8.5-inch blade, relatively thick there. You can do your choppy stuff. You could split wood with it. It can be that big, keep the bears away from you. You mentioned Hugh Glass there. Very cool knife, but not too anchory. Like it's not something that's going to weigh you down too much. Even comes with a very excellent leather sheath. The leather sheath itself looks a little less historical, I would say, than the rest of the knife itself. You could always have something custom made if you like, of course. But I do like how thick it is, how nicely stitched it is, and the swiveling belt loop here at the side makes it real easy to use in all kinds of different positions, whether you're standing, sitting, crouching, all of that sort of thing. That's the big knife I would recommend. As for the small knife, you could certainly look to some of the other Condor historically inspired patterns, but I would also point you to any of the Old Hickory Outdoor series of knives. And the knife that started that series is this right here, the 5.5-inch hunting knife. And it is essentially a slightly smaller version of the Old Hickory butcher knives, which bear a strong resemblance to the Green River style of butcher knives that was prolific at certain points in the 1800s and prolific on the trapping frontier especially. You know, this is a line, I think it was Ethan Becker relayed this line to me, but I don't think it was his quote originally, that Green River butcher knife is the knife that won the American West. And the heritage of that is in this particular knife right here. You've also got in that lineup, they've got a 4-inch Kephart knife, which that's, you know, later 1800s, early 1900s, so maybe not quite in the time period you're looking at. Both of these, about 25 bucks. I think this would be a good companion to that Hudson Bay, but I actually like, even more than that, I like the smaller knife even better. This is the Bird and Trout Old Hickory, about 20 bucks for that. 3 3/8 of an inch long on the blade length, full flat grind, carbon steel. Not a full tang, it's a partial tang. But I really like both of these smaller two of these 3 Old Hickory knives. I think I like better than the 5.5-inch Hunter. I think they offer a wider gulf between the two. But I especially like the smallest one in this matchup. You can save $5 too over the Kephart. There is a lot you can get done with that combo right there. Right?
I suppose.
Especially, you know, this is basically a small paring knife, this Bird and Trout knife here. Lots of food prep stuff, small game preparation, trimming rope, twine, string, that sort of thing. Excellent little knife. If you want the full tang though, I would say go with the Kephart over the 5.5-inch Hunter, but that's just my personal preference. I think that slightly smaller size complements the bigger Hudson Bay a little bit better. Sheaths on those Old Hickory knives. They're nicely done too. Leather, simple loop on the back for belt carry. I do like the black stained edges especially. They look really good. Very capable. There you go. All right, next question comes from Toon van de Weert.
You just pick these based on names, don't you?
I should. It'd be even better. Last summer, when I was chopping wood for the pizza oven, the stop pin from my Elementum broke. Thanks to the fantastic Civivi service, I got spare parts and the knife is back in business. But this got me thinking, and I have 3 questions. 1, is the stop pin in frame or liner lock knives the weakest part? And why don't they make them bigger or stronger? That's already 2 questions right there. Are there known differences between stop pins and knives? That's 3. Size or materials? 3.5. Does this also mean that a button lock is stronger than a frame or liner lock? So that's 4.5 questions. Fuzzy math. Anyway, why were you using a Civivi Elementum to chop wood? That's my first question.
I think you might have the world's only pizza oven that's powered by chopsticks.
Is it like the Easy Bake pizza oven?
I kind of want one of those.
So before I get to I will get to your questions, yes. But I think this is first and foremost primarily a case of using the right tool for a job. 1, I wouldn't recommend splitting, I don't know if you're actually chopping crossways through wood or whether you're like batoning, actually splitting wood by driving a knife through with a mallet. I wouldn't do that with any folding knife really. Maybe some certain cold steels with a triad lock, but even then, fixed blade.
We did once to a CRKT.
We did, the Shock, yeah, with its deadbolt lock. It held up, but still not. I gotta recommend a fixed blade for that sort of thing. But also, whether you're using, a folder or not, this is also not, this is like a terrible size and weight and shape for doing wood splitting too. I mean, it's a lightweight, agile, nice cutty EDC. Excellent little knife. Not at all suited to that task though. Whether, like I said, whether you're batoning and splitting through wood or you're using it to chop this way, like through something, you don't have nearly enough weight or the right type of grind or anything to do that well. And you're gonna damage something as you did with a stop pin if you're splitting wood that way.
That's got a lot of energy, it seems.
Maybe it's Joe Flowers could do it, I guess, if we're talking about Joe here a second ago, because he could get into like that hypersonic speed and maybe it would work, but.
Just make sawdust.
I would generally say, is the stop pin in the, we'll go through your questions. Sorry for giving you a hard time, sanctimonious bit over, we'll move on. Is the stop pin in a frame or liner lock knife the weakest part? And why don't they make them bigger or stronger? It can be a weak part, just like any different mechanism in a folding knife can be a weak part, especially if it's not built to an ideal of withstanding a greater amount of stress. And that comes down to this knife right here. This has got a pretty small stop pin right here. This is not intended to be like a heavy duty, hard use pocket knife. It's just an everyday carry folder, and it does great at that. Generally speaking, the heavier duty the whole knife is, the heavier duty the stop pin is probably going to be as well. Are there known differences between stop pins in knives, size or materials? Materials wise, I'm pretty sure everyone's just using steel of one form or another. I suppose some may be using some titanium actually, but.
Sounds expensive.
It's a little bit more expensive. I will say one example here of what I'm talking about. Am I talking about this? One example here, the Para 3 from Spyderco. The Paramilitary 2, which is the bigger brother to this knife, uses a threaded sleeve with bolts on either side, or screws on either side to secure said stop pin. But the stop pin on the Para 3 is actually a single piece of steel, and it steps down on each side into a narrower post to slot through the liners. So now you have a ostensibly stronger, tougher stop pin, and it's transferring more force potentially to the liners. Then you have to, talking about weak points, you have to think how it interacts with the entire rest of the knife when you're discussing something like a weak point like that. Here's the thing though, they haven't actually changed the Paramilitary 2 to use this same pivot or this same stop pin, because the one on the Paramilitary 2 still works quite well. Now, as for the third part of your question, does this also mean that a button lock is stronger than a frame or liner lock? I think it's kind of a separate issue from what we've been talking about, or at least the way I think about this quote-unquote problem. But in this case as well, you have to look at the whole picture. The locking mechanism is just part of the whole construction. Stop pin, liners, everything else, handle, rigidity itself. But a button lock can be exceptionally strong. But each different lock type is good at withstanding stresses in different ways than other lock types can be as well. We're getting into the real nitty-gritty use cases there. For most people, for just most general purpose use, not going to be much of an issue. I will say, like Alan Olishewitz is real famous for using the button lock and doing a really strong, being a real strong proponent of the strength of that mechanism, and you can see that carry through into a lot of his Hogue designs as well. Sorry for stumbling over the words there, but yeah, the answer to every one of your 4.5 questions is it depends.
That was a fun romp through the weeds.
Are they here? Should we kind of like get yourself a Hudson Bay? This will be a lot more fun splitting wood for the pizza oven, I would think. And even though some
or switch to propane, I don't know.
And even though some people really get upset and decry the practice of batoning wood, like driving through with a stick on the spine of your knife, especially if you're in a backyard loading up the pizza oven, if you've got kids running around, that's a heck of a lot safer than swinging a hatchet around in that sort of situation. Fight me in the comments section. All right, now we come to the lightning round for today. Tyler McConnell asks, I need some help. I have a small collection and need a safe way to store them away from my 2 kids as they grow. I've seen your regular use of the ZT soft fold bags, and I'm hoping for your thoughts on the best similar item to grab for myself around Christmas. Something along those lines is great, as hard cases are an issue due to space. I'm gonna recommend a hard case for you, actually, but let me get to why. This ZT soft case is great, but even if you were to kind of lock the zippers together, you can still kind of work your way in and get to a knife on the inside. So a determined child, that's not really gonna keep them out. Same size as this though. Check out this hard-sided vault case from BRS. I mean, if you can find space for this ZT soft case, you're gonna be able to find space for this hard case here. And well, let me give you the full name of it so you got it. This is becoming less of a lightning round question as we speak. Blade Runner Systems Vault Knife Case Secure. It has a TSA compliant combination lock here right on the front, which is pretty cool. And then on the inside, it's very customizable. There's a carry strap, some patch panels, sections here with elastic strapping for your knives. These are all Velcro backed so you can move them around. Really doggone cool, actually. Then you can lock it shut when not in use. And on the underside, it's got essentially a little takedown tray or some dump tray, something like that. Your maintenance, taking stuff apart, little spots for all your stuff.
I was going to suggest make the kids move out.
I'm guessing they're probably a little too young for that.
Says you.
I'm guessing. I said it was a guess. All right, next lightning round question. Jason Lundy. My question is, what is the best side of leather to use when making a homemade strop? As for me, I use both, actually. I'll use the rough side of a strop as well as the smooth side. And I would basically just say if you're going to be using compound at any point, put your more aggressive compound on the rougher side and your smoother compound on the plain side. If you're just using it plain, I would go ahead and use the smooth side. No reason to get too messy with the rough side. But these NAFS strops are actually pretty cool and decent size, $16, very portable, and it comes with some green compound. If you're not going to add some black compound to the mix, which I personally like to do, I would put your green on the back, finish plain on the front. Hope that helps. All right, now we come to our last question of the day, which is our most serious question of the day, which comes from Thunderlight. You should do a new knives video where you do not talk at all. Just show the knives and use your facial expressions to tell it all. Well, I'm not gonna do a whole episode, but I did have Thomas pull a knife. I don't know what it is, and we're gonna do just that. Okay, here we go. I almost started talking about this. We have a clear plastic container here. All right.
How very astute of you.
Wait, you said no talking. Can I grunt and make other vocalizations?
Go ahead, and I'll just mute you if I have to.
Actually, I'm really worried about what you're gonna like translate my motions into with like subtitles or something.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
Hope that helps. All right. That is all we have for today, folks. Thank you for sticking around for this series. It is a lot of fun, but we do need your questions, of course, to keep it rolling. So if you've got one, especially if it's a good, serious question, most serious question, just leave them in the comments section below. If you want to get your hands on any of these products here, check out the links in the description. Those will take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our Knife Rewards program because, let's admit it, we're going to be buying knives anyway. So wouldn't it be great to actually get some free money back to spend on your next ones? I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.